This is Find Your Flow, a show about navigating the complexities of life and business through the lens of curiosity. I'm your host, Angelique, and I bring together experts to deliver responsibly curated conversations and perspectives that aim to progress people and the planet. So how many listeners out there have read the book, Let My People Go Surfing? If you have, then you likely understand the power of social enterprise and the grand adventure that is connecting passion to purpose to build business for good. And if you haven't, it's a memoir on founder Yvon Chouinard on how the Patagonia business model came to be. Well, simply stated, he created a company to address climate change and advance wilderness preservation by selling outdoor clothing and gear. It's one of the best models of social enterprise today, along with other organizations like Ben & Jerry's, Tom's, Warby Parker, and of course, many B corporations. But to provide a more literal definition, a social enterprise is an organization that applies commercial strategies for profit to maximize improvements in financial, social, and environmental well-being. And our special guest today, we have Jill Newbold. She shares her story as an entrepreneur and an outdoor enthusiast who, much like Yvon, found a way to pair her passion with purpose and encourage people to stay active at every age. Jill, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you. I'm so excited that we're here, we're making this happen, and cannot wait to share your story. So tell us, what is your founder's story? How did LoPo Dive Skins come to be? How did you find your flow?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me, Angelique. It's great to be here. And my founder's story started on a dock in Wisconsin, in Minnesota with my sister. We were looking out at the lake, having a couple beers. I was working in impact investing at the time. I was with an organization called Investor Circle. And my sister is a huge scuba diver. Mm-hmm. And we were, as you are wont to do with the people who you love in your life, talking about how we wanted to work for ourselves. And in my role at Investor Circle, I had seen dozens of really amazing companies, impact enterprises pitch, and it was giving me a hankering, like, could we do this ourselves? We're smart. Let's think of our own idea. And she was telling me about a product called a dive skin. As a scuba diver, she wore one or wears one underneath a wetsuit. It just makes it easier to take off and on a neoprene rubber suit. And I had seen a fair number of companies that were starting to use recycled materials in clothing. Yep. And it was just like, ding, ding, ding. What if we could make clothing for people who love what they do in the ocean out of plastic bottles that we could take out of the ocean? And LoPo, which in the French words L'Eau, P-E-A-U, for water skin came to mind. And that day on the dock, the idea was formed. So I love it. That is where it came from. And, fast forward many years and lots of toe stubbing later, I'll fill you in on where we are on that idea.
As many founder stories may go, I totally believe it. So it sounds like for you, it's always like, does the passion come first? Did the purpose come first? And it almost sounds like in that moment, both of those two things conjoined.
They came together because of two sisters with two different passions. I mean, we both have always loved the ocean. Our happy times as a family were at the ocean, still are. I live in North Carolina and love just going to the ocean has always put life in perspective for me and for my sister as my co-founder. So to answer your question, bring it back, Jill. Her love of scuba and my passion around environmentalism and getting, just seeing plastic floating in the ocean or on the shores or when I'm at a lake just is disgusting. Mm-hmm. And so the idea of bringing a company to market that did something about that was really what my passion was. That's why I did it.
Love it. Love it. So I'm intrigued to hear more about your background in impact investing, because it sounds like you've been working with a lot of organizations that have these mission-driven
Mhm.
values. So
Yeah,
what has that been? Because you probably learned so much that you can bring into the business today.
I did. I did. It was an amazing almost decade that I spent in impact investing as the director of business development. And that took me all over the country. And I saw just great ideas pitched by these really smart people, many of them who were leaving big business because they just didn't find any soul in it anymore. And they had an idea. But what I really believe is that it's okay to make money off of these ideas. That's the only way they're going to scale. I mean, that's not true. And lots of nonprofits would, um, you know, take me to task on that. But I believe there's nothing wrong with building a business that grows, that makes the founders and the investors money, that can be sold, that can be scaled, that is formed and comes to light for the right reasons. And for me, we used to define impact investing as an idea, a for-profit company formed to solve a social or environmental problem, just like what you said at the opening of the show. So our LoPo was founded to, on the front end, keep upstream plastic out of the oceans or lakes or whatever your body of water is. And on the back end, to keep clothing out of landfills. Because the more I learned about fashion, which by the way, I don't care about fashion, the more I realized it's just, we don't need to make clothes this way. We don't need to bring them halfway across the world. We don't need to employ people in Asia the way that they're employed. We don't need to use virgin polyester with every single piece of clothing we make and make too much and put them in landfills and throw them away because no one buys them. So
Preach. I mean, I feel like we could dive into a whole discussion on that as well. Just the amount of waste that goes into garments and how difficult it is for them to be recycled, and like the whole fast fashion industry. I mean, like, it's a lot.
well, and it is very difficult. And I can tell you, as I'm about to go visit my third cut and sew factory, it's difficult to make clothing in the United States in a way that is affordable.
That's fair.
So LoPo
is
it's a premium brand, but we're not a luxury brand.
Sure.
But we've struggled to find a partner in the US to find product that we could buy completely in the United States. I also thought that on-demand manufacturing was a thing, and it's not quite yet. There's some people trying, but there haven't been a lot of successes yet. So the first search was, where do we get this kind of fabric? And it turns out in the US, we can't just go to the Atlantic Ocean and pull plastic bottles out of the ocean because we have recycling here. So after a worldwide search, I ended up working with Unify.
Okay.
Which is based here in North Carolina, and they have a product called Reprieve Our Ocean. And it is plastic taken from a certain, I think it's 25 kilometers from the shore in mostly Central America.
Okay.
Then it's kept out of the ocean, brought to the US, and cleaned, crushed, extruded, and becomes a made in the USA polyester yarn.
I love it.
I mean, I'm fully admitting it's not a perfect story, but it was that or a couple of products that I could have gotten from Europe. And I really wanted to try and keep this all made in the United States.
And I think that's the biggest, focus here is like, it's your story. And it's one that is constantly evolving. I mean, for anyone that started a company, it's like, the process isn't easy. A lot of people they may try and make it look easy, but especially when you are so true to your values and what you believe and how you want your product to look and how you want it to be manufactured. I applaud you for, being non-apologetic about what that will take. And I think the other thing that comes around for me is with the social enterprise movement. I think there's also, on the flip side, have you heard of the movement of conscious consumerism? And so I think it's also people that are so fed up with just how much crap is out there and how much we're consuming, where they're like, especially Gen Z, they are like unapologetic. they're like, I want to know what goes into my makeup. I want to know what goes into any single product that I am buying. Because not only are they're pushing more and more corporations because they are the future. I mean, millennials, Gen X, Gen Z, like they are the future that is going to be around for years and years to come. And they're kind of like, hey, we need to make sure that we're doing good by what we're doing here, because we're going to run out of resources here.
Well, and I really thought because of my price point, my customer would be a little older, but I'm finding more and more the people you just talked about, they make good salaries and they're willing to pay a premium for a product that they believe in, that they can, it empowers them to be a part of the solution.
And I've got to applaud that, because I think there's exactly that, where it's like, I'd rather pay a little bit more for something that I know is well made and holds true to my values than buying something that, I don't even support where it was thread from.
But so that's hard. It's going against the Amazonian grain. I mean, everybody wants what they want in 10 minutes. And, but I do think part of being a conscious consumer is buying less. And I have a 1-year warranty on LoPo right now, at least, because it's so well made. And I'm trying to message, you only need one of these every 5 years. You don't need one every season because your elbow goes through it, or, because it rips when you try and put a wetsuit over it. So there's two sides to that. And another thing I want to mention before we move on is, yes, I saw dozens and dozens of amazing entrepreneurs that really inspired me. But I thought, I know what I'm doing. I've watched all these entrepreneurs. I have an MBA. This can't be that hard. Man, have I been humbled. It's like whatever that line is, like just watching a doctor play one on TV is different than being a doctor. So
gosh. And there's also that quote where it's like, experience is one of the greatest teachers. When you can read about these things all day and all the books and all the business books, and then you're living it in your situation, like you're in, is just so different. Yeah, it's a whole new skill set. But I want to dive in more. When it comes to social enterprise and conscious consumerism, why do you believe this is the future of business, especially in the United States?
I think COVID taught us a lot. The whole supply chain snarls. I think we have a administration right now that's trying to invest back in the United States. Whether or not that's successful or not will be seen. But I think there's I don't know. I've read so many social commentary. I mean, we just need to invest in ourselves. And there's a lot of great things here in the United States. There's no reason not to use what we've got here, whether it be resources or human beings. I just think it's worth the investment. It's worth a slight or even a noticeable premium, in my mind, to build things that can stay here and make jobs here and make great products that people feel really wonderful about wearing here. And it's hard. It's harder and it's more expensive. And now I know why more people aren't doing it. But
you have that firsthand experience from it. And I mean, that's the question I come back to a lot, is just the cost of making goods in the United States. And, for me, it goes back to paying fair wages to people that deserve them. I mean, it pains me to think about just the different conditions in places. And, I can only hope that in the United States, it's like prioritizing making jobs, but also providing an affordable living so that everybody can be able to experience that American dream. And how do we propel that in a way that is scalable for all, not just the few?
Well, and this becomes kind of the fine line. Like, I didn't start this business to be on a mountaintop preaching down to people. I really didn't. I don't want that role. But at the same time, I feel like this product is a good one and it's worth bringing to market, and I'm going to do it. And I believe that I can find a market of people who vote with, they walk the talk.
Mm-hmm.
I like to say maybe they have skin in the game, and to buy a product like this.
Yeah.
So it's to be determined. I've had some pre-sales, but I haven't even shipped my first product yet. So it's early in the game, but I have been working on it long enough that I still believe that we have differentiators, and it's okay for me to have founded a company to keep upstream plastic out of the ocean,
Yeah.
keep clothes out of landfills, and by the way, for courage.
Yes.
Go for
Yes.
it.
I want to dive into that in just a second here, but what I think is amazing is a lot of times people listen to these interviews and it's just like always focus on somebody that's like, all right, I've done it, I'm at the top. But being able to follow someone's journey, where I guarantee you 1 year from now when we sit down for our follow-up interview and there's been so much, that has happened over the past year, this story is going to have so many other wild twists and turns and growth. And, I think that's the exciting part of these kind of stories is like, it's not easy. It's not easy to start.
Well, and I'm so glad you think that's exciting. I'm kidding. Yeah, it is. I just have to keep at it. I keep telling myself it's one day at a time, and I've got a good support network, but it is not easy.
Mm-hmm. But I think there's also, when you have a North Star, when you have a purpose, when you have that belief that you're following, that is every single day that you wake up and it's like, that's my North Star. This is what I'm doing it for. At the end of the day, this is what I'm following. And I absolutely love that. And one of the conversations that you and I have had prior that I thought was really unique to LoPo Dive Skins and just the story is how to celebrate active lifestyles at every single age. Not making it seem like, oh, you've got to be in your 20s to go enjoy, diving and surfing and outdoor, water life. Tell me more about that. And I guess, why is that such a key topic? Why is that a part of the story that you look forward to emphasizing?
I'm not the poster child for, I'm not the woman out there surfing. I am scuba certified, but I have only been in a quarry because I was certified with our daughter during COVID. So I am not so much an example of an active lifestyle at any age, but the willingness to start something at any age. So I have had a long career. I have 2 children in their 20s. I have just flipped over into an age that begins with a 6. And I think, I don't, like I said earlier, fashion isn't my thing, but I am okay being an example that don't feel like your life's over after you are in your 40s. There's a lot out there that you can still do. You can still learn. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay not to have everything figured out. And that this is kind of my retirement play. Sitting on the dock with my sister, I wanted to be more in charge of my own destiny.
Yes.
And damn, am I in charge of my own destiny, like it or not.
Yes.
And some of the things that I thought would be an advantage of being at this stage of life, I'm also learning about myself, that it's still, I thought things would roll off my back easier because I know this too shall pass. I know it's only money, but those things I'm still human. Those are still hard things to think about at 2:00 in the morning sometimes.
Absolutely. But that's the story right there, is you can start at any age and you can continue to follow your passions. You continue to see those unfold and you continue to learn. And I think just exactly that. It's like, I remember turning 30 and being like, oh God, life's over at 30. And then I'm like, no, like, why do we, maybe it's maybe the conversations around how women think in those eras also, as I'd be interested to see how that compares to men. But it's like every new decade, I think we're finally learning, like, celebrate every aspect of, what you've learned the decade before and what you can take into the next.
Well,
And
and
I love that.
you've got one go around. Let's
Yeah.
have fun. If nothing else, I want to look in the mirror in 5 years and say, I did it, or at least I tried. I
Yes.
mean, I don't know where this journey is going to take me, but I think I know I would have been more disappointed with myself if I didn't dare to try.
Exactly. Exactly. Because you don't get those, the what if situations can be a killer and you don't get that time back ever. And I
And
think
it's
sometimes
like,
it's like, I love the saying, do it scared.
yeah, yeah. And I have to remind myself, like, this is a choice. Enjoy the ride.
Absolutely.
And for people who, the other part of the reason this company was founded is because of what I said at the very beginning about love of the ocean
Mhm.
and the majesty of being by a body of water and how it puts life in perspective. And we wanted to make clothes for that time of your life, for one of the best times of your life, when you are near a body of water, doing something you love, unplugged with the people that mean the most to you, that remind you of your why. And sometimes that's your friends, and sometimes that's your family, and sometimes it's your family, that you make of both.
Yeah.
But
Sometimes it's just you.
yeah, and sometimes you're alone. And to be a part of that, some of those best times of people's lives is fun, and it's worthwhile.
Absolutely. Have you ever read the book Blue Mind?
I haven't. I've seen it on your list on Instagram of your favorite books, so it's on my list.
Do it. Do it. It's like everything that you've just described in the last like 20 minutes. I mean, that is, and just in this last few seconds here, that is Blue Mind. It brings in the science behind why our brains and our bodies feel differently around the ocean as well.
Really?
It
Ooh,
is, yeah. Oh, it's such a rich book, and I think it might be one of my top for a while, because it's like, why do people feel so much better by water? There's a whole science behind this, and but yeah, definitely recommend that book as well. I think you'll really enjoy some of the learnings from that'll play into this.
Well, and if you're going to start a company, you could start it for any reason. I mean, I could start an app just to try and make money fast. I could start, there's a bazillion things you could do. And so if I'm going to take this leap, I might as well try and make a product that people use, it's even fun to plan these trips. What you're going to take is important, and where you're going to go, and who you're inviting, and what you need, what are your supplies, as you start to, in your extra bedroom, put together your trip supplies. And just that feeling of good inside is another thing that I want LoPo to be a part of. And it's just such a clever name, and I've got the most adorable logo.
Oh, your logo is so good. And I promise I will share that on here, and so that people can see it, because it is, when you first, when you sent it to me, I was like, oh, this company is so cool. Like I come from a branding background, so of course I'm like a little geeked out about seeing some good branding.
Yes, thank you so much. So yeah, it's fun, and it's as we have said, there is no. Sometimes I am guilty of wanting a quick fix. I'm decisive. I like to keep going, and this has, like I said earlier, it's humbled me. There is no quick fix. You have to go through the slog. You have to learn what works and what doesn't. You have to have the failures and the relationships that I had really, put all my gusto behind. When they fall through, you start to question, like, is my judgment off? I thought this was it. So you just get up and you keep going, and you find a new partner. And life has brought me lots of women and men that strangely pop up in my universe that have been so helpful and kind and supportive. And you're one of them. I met you through Jess, who wrote a book. I met her and didn't even realize my husband had the book in his office. I mean, all these serendipitous things that happen. Who says that they don't happen for a reason? They do.
Oh, I believe in them. I absolutely believe in them. I think that's wherever your beliefs may lie. I think there's no coincidences. There's always fate that brings things together. And one of the questions that came out for me, we both live in North Carolina. We've got the expansiveness of the Atlantic right here next to us. Do you feel like that's kind of been an advantage for having these conversations with, being so close to actually having the ocean right here?
Yeah.
You and I are planning a dive trip in the next few months. Like,
That's
we can
right.
do that.
Yep.
Just drive.
I have been, if I lived in Indiana, I've been to lake, well, every state has lakes, but I've talked to stand-up paddleboarders at a nearby lake. I have been to the beach several times to talk to both surfers and scuba divers. I've been to the quarry here. So yeah, and I've also had the opportunity to talk to some retailers. So I'm getting some good insight there as well. Don't have it, just I have opinions, but it is nice being a couple of hours from the ocean to be able to go and speak with people and interview folks as they're literally coming out of the ocean.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think I think we'll find that, in this journey in the first couple of years too, is like people, when they attach to your mission as a brand, they naturally become brand ambassadors.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the beautiful part, because when you love something like the ocean, something that you grow to have such a love and respect for, I think that you're going to find that there's so many people that will easily jump on board to help propel this mission.
So from the very beginning, my sister's name is Kelly, and she loves the color Kelly green. And so right now, as we're launching, we only have 4 styles, but they're all in a blue, kind of a ocean blue color. But if you buy something that is for the top of your body, which is a rash guard or a dive skin, it has a bright green neck. And even before, years ago, my image of LoPo was of somebody jumping in the water or coming out of the ocean with a wetsuit on, but you could see the green neck. We've designed the neck high in the back with the logo on the back. And to me, that's our IZOD, or something like that. Just that's the little thumbs up that people who are believing in what this brand stands for, you'll be able to identify them as they are out doing what they love. So we'll see if that works.
That. It's like its own like Jeep wave.
Yeah.
You get like a little hand motion with it or something like that.
Hook 'em horns, So,
yeah. I love that. I love that. And I so look forward to, so for any of our listeners, Jill and I are embarking on some dive trips coming up, and we are going to be filming I guess you could call it the brand story, brand manifesto, but actually like going out into the waters and capturing the essence of what is LoPo dive skins. And to this exact point, being able to show, maybe there's where we start to establish our little wave for, hey, you love the ocean? Me too.
Right. I see that on you. You're one of those.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You're one of us.
You're one of us. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love. So, how, I guess in this time, as you start, you're growing, and we're going to build more brand partnerships, brand ambassadors. How might you influence or encourage people at all ages right now to stay active, and especially those that might just be starting their journey, whether it's with active lifestyles or the ocean? What would you say?
I'm going to have to steal from Nike. Just do it.
They coined that one real well.
And little things. It's part of our brand. Little efforts add up. So it's okay if it's just a 10-minute walk with your dog, or you just go sit on a surfboard or a paddleboard. You don't have to go out there and win the Olympics. We can let other people do that and cheer them on. It's just being in nature, being next to for me, again, the majesty of the ocean. It helps me remember my why, and it puts things in perspective. So I'm not sure that's the answer you were looking for. And again, I'm no triathlete, but I do think these clothes, these styles that LoPo is taking to the world, are something to wear when you're out enjoying these activities, and it protects you. It's got the highest UPF. It covers your neck. it stays on your hands as you're pulling on a wetsuit, or you can wear it by itself. So it's protection, comfort, and then that gives you confidence.
I love it. There's no right or wrong answer to that. I think it's your answer, and that was perfect. And I like how the build on confidence and honestly the protection factor too. When we think about, you're spending so much time outdoors, and you're encouraged to get outside, and we need that vitamin D. But at the same time, we've got to be careful with how much we get. And so I love the SPF factor and the protection factor that they provide.
Our fabric is thick. It's thicker than what's on the market. And I can't wait to ship it and make sure that people tell me that they like that. But we purposefully made it thicker because it provides more coverage. It's flattering, and also it'll last longer. So.
Well, and this is a message to any of our dive friends out there. If you're interested in trying the product, if you're interested in kind of being the first of the folks to get on the bandwagon here, how can our dive friends find you?
It's very simple. It's LoPo, which is LoPo. That's the Americanized version of the French that I told you about a little while ago. So LoPo Diveskins with an S.com. That's it.
I love it.
We're on Instagram at that same at LoPo Diveskins, and I'm trying to get better on Facebook.
I mean, there's so many channels at this point. Yeah. You're doing such a kick-ass job on Instagram, and I think the more this message starts to spread, it'll all start to funnel itself. So, well, Jill, I really look forward to our dive trips coming up.
Me too. Thank you for working on the Southport together. I can't wait.
Yes, and a little plug here for Blackbeard Scuba in Southport, North Carolina. So if you are in the North Carolina area or surrounding areas, I did my dive certification with them as well. Great organization. Would highly recommend. And they also have a trip out to Frying Pan Shoals. If you've not heard of it, it's pretty wild.
Is that where we're going? Isn't that where we're going? Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this for like 3 years. I am so overexcited for it. I first learned about it. There was a big hurricane coming through, and I found out that they had put cameras underneath the water because there's a lot of shark activity. Essentially what it is about, I think it's 30 miles off the coast of Southport, is this massive lighthouse on stilts. And essentially they built it because the plates in that area specifically were higher than any other areas in the Atlantic. And so you had a lot of these shipwrecks that would happen. With shipwrecks come sharks. Now, I might be butchering this story a little bit, so don't hold all of the story, because I definitely encourage you to go and look it up too. But it's just been a really iconic site that the U.S. government had put this lighthouse there, and at some points it's been an Airbnb. So you can go, you either take a boat, or they have like a helipad that lands there. But Blackbeard Scuba does their dive tours out there, and they'll take a boat and they'll take some divers off, and
that's what we're doing. That's our excursion.
I know. You go to the bottom, and there's apparently some sharks there. So I am
great. Thanks. I look forward to that.
You've committed. We're doing it. Do it scared.
Let's do it. I'm going to take my own advice.
I'm going to be telling you that on the boat.
There we go.
All right. Well, Jill, thank you again so much for joining us. Excited to share this story, and I hope you all are encouraged to follow the story of LoPo Diveskins. Reach out to Jill, ask questions, follow on social media, and find your own way to love and respect our oceans. So talk to you all soon, and thanks again, Jill.
Thanks, Angelique.